All right, good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, and you are in the Athens-Clarke County City Hall for our monthly voting meeting. We're glad to have you with us, whether you're here in the chamber, watching on accgov.com, or YouTube, or Charter Channel 180. We're going to go ahead and begin, as we always do, with our roll call. So, Clerk Spratlin, if you could call roll, please.
Davenport.
Here.
Parker.
Here.
Link.
Here.
Wright.
Present.
Denson.
Here.
Naismith.
Present.
Edwards.
Yep.
Harrod. Thornton. Handy. We have a quorum.
All right, with a quorum, next order of business is approval of minutes of Tuesday, February 4th and Tuesday, February 18th. I'd accept a motion for approval of those 2 minutes.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Parker. I have a second from Commissioner Denson. Any other input on those items? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, are there any written communications this evening?
None.
All right, so before we move forward with citizen input, which I'll describe in just a couple of minutes, we have one award. So I'm going to come down to the lower mic. And if I could call forward Stacy Smith and Carlos Pinto from Solid Waste and Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful. Thank you for coming to City Hall this evening. Many people may know we have long-standing, well-regarded Keep America Beautiful affiliate, which is our own local Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful. Every year, the Keep America Beautiful network recognizes the best of the best among their consortium of community-based affiliates who consistently lead corporate partners and volunteers across the country to deliver cleaner, greener, and more beautiful communities. This past year, KACCB received the Affiliate Award of Excellence, which honors the Keep America Beautiful affiliates that scored 90 or above on their application for the National Affiliate Award. And what's exciting is that this is one of only 5 affiliates in a network of over 600 that have received this distinction. Last year alone, Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful improved upon 22 existing outreach programs, engaged over 1,600 students in environmental education activities, completed over 200 cleanup events, and distributed nearly 700 trees. Successful collaborations include the Loop 10 beautification project with GDOT and ACC Landscape Management, as well as Rivers Alive, the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, and the Litter Abatement Steering Community. So, for all of this great work, I have this Affiliate Award of Excellence plaque to present to Stacy and Carla. So, congratulations. Everybody give a round of applause. All right, thank you so much. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Stacy. Good work. All right, there are going to be several opportunities for resident input tonight. An opportunity on the consent agenda, an opportunity on old and new business, an opportunity on our single planning and zoning item, and then a general input opportunity on any items not on the agenda. If folks interested in input could do everybody a favor, just let us know which item you're referring to. You'll have 3 minutes to provide your comments. There's a light in front of Clerk Spratlin. When you begin speaking, it will turn green. When you have 30 seconds remaining, it will turn yellow. And when your 3 minutes is up, the light will turn red. There are also some cards on the podium behind Attorney Drake. If you could fill one of those cards out, that allows us to make sure we accurately capture your name for the record. So now is that time when we do have citizen input, resident input on the consent agenda, which are items number 1 through 9. Again, consent agenda items number 1 through 9.
This is looking so bad. You know that, right?
And in fact, I'll do that at the end of the meeting, but thank you, yes. Come on down, consent agenda items.
Hi, again. Carol Myers, 260 Spalding Circle. I'm speaking on behalf of 100% Athens Renewable Energy Initiative in support of item 6, a policy to establish a community energy fund. I realize that this item is on the consent agenda, meaning that you are all in unanimous support of it, but we at 100% Athens want to make public our appreciation of this support and for the work of the Sustainability Office and Andrew Saunders in putting together this proposal. Also, we want the public to understand what the establishment of a community energy fund means for the community. It will provide funding to help transition the entire community to 100% clean and renewable energy in a variety of ways. One, for energy efficiency projects and renewable energy installations to residents and businesses most impacted by these increases. That means lower-income residents with higher energy utility cost burdens. The fund will also support green energy-related economic development incentives to recruit and expand businesses and to help build a green job pipeline in Athens. The fund will support nonprofits in a transition to green energy through energy conservation and renewable energy projects and support their funding of programs that address local poverty by supporting jobs in the clean energy sector. And finally, the fund will add to existing conservation programs for energy utilities and identify other community programs that can leverage funds for residents most vulnerable to increasing energy costs. The third part of the 100% Athens resolution to green and renewable energy that you all passed unanimously last spring says that we will make this community transition in a manner to redress historical inequities in our community by prioritizing resources to train and hire people from within marginalized communities to participate in the energy efficiency and renewable energy workforce, and by facilitating energy efficiency upgrades, opportunities for clean transportation, and renewable energy installations in low-income communities. This community energy fund that you're approving tonight will be a big step forward on making good on that promise. And also, because I saw it on the agenda, thanks for going ahead and getting that funding on the solar on Fire Station 4. Good for the environment and good for the county budget. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Any other input this evening on the consent agenda? Again, those are items number 1 through 9 on the agenda. All right. Would any commissioner like to remove any of the items from consent for further discussion? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right. I've got a motion from Commissioner Wright, a second from Commissioner Neesmith for approval of the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The consent agenda is approved. Judd, I believe that we have an ordinance on one. If you could read that for us,
Yep.
please.
An ordinance to amend the FY 2020 annual operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide funding for expenses related to animal sheltering operations and maintenance in the Animal Services Department and for other purposes.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Drake. I appreciate it. All right. We are moving forward to resident input on items 10 through 14, old and new business. Is there anyone who would like to speak to any of those items, 10 through 14? Pavement maintenance, emergency grant for advanced behavioral, Athena Drive, pre-arrest diversion, and the nominating committee report. All right, moving on then to item number 10. This is our calendar year 20 pavement maintenance project. Would any commissioner like to speak to this item? Commissioner Neesmith?
Yes, I don't know. I should have warned the manager I was going to ask this question. I'll understand if he doesn't have the answer. Can you give us some idea about the source of funding for the maintenance, CY20 street maintenance program? Is it T-SPLOS primarily, or is it?
Yes, sir. It's a mix, for sure.
Okay, I see it. I see it.
It's on the
T-SPLOS
first.
is $25.5 million, and then the rest is coming from GDOT LMIG program, 2011 SPLOST, there are a couple of other ones. So a lot of money from, all but $2.5 million is coming from T-SPLOST. So I just want to commend this board for supporting that item in the T-SPLOST 2018 project list. We're still behind in our road pavement, but we've seen great improvements in the last 2 or 3 years, and we'll continue to see it through this year and next year as well. So that's important. I don't know where this money would have come from to get our streets back in shape without the T-Splost, and so it's money well spent. Thank you.
Manager Williams, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, sir. And in the April work session, we'll be talking about stormwater, and we're at the budget, part of the year now where we'll be talking more about the budget and getting into that. And, the infrastructure is such an important part of our community, and it does take a number of different funding sources because of the enormity of everything we need to keep up. But certainly, T-Splost and Splost 2011 funds make up a good bit of this funding. We do leverage some state funding with this, and there are some general taxpayer dollars in the funding as well, but it is not insignificant.
Thank you, Manager Williams. Any other input on this item? I'd accept the
I'd like to
motion.
move for approval.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion for approval from Commissioner Neesmith, a second from Commissioner Link. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, item carries. All right, moving on to item number 11. It's a new item, an emergency reimbursable grant for Advantage Behavioral Health Systems. This is a grant in a value of up to $199,000 for renovation of an existing Athens-Clarke County space that would be able to house Advantage's residential program that's getting booted from some private residences. And this is comparable to a grant we made a couple of years ago to the Athens Neighborhood Health Center. This would be repaid over 36 like payments. So input on this item? Commissioner Neesmith.
First of all, I'll let you know that I'm going to be recusing myself from this item. That doesn't mean I can't speak in support of it. I just won't be able to vote for it because I am on the board of Advantage, and Advantage is benefiting from it. But this is in support of their women's program, which is now about 19 years old. It has supported almost 100 women and their children in their transition from addiction to productive lives. They stay in the housing with their children, about 15 families at a time, until they're able to get a job and find their own place to live. And the success rate of this program is near 100%. So this will be using an existing Clarke County building where Advantage's administrative offices are housed now, and dividing that in half, putting the administration kept well, and there will be a recycling program as a part of this, and a lot of other ways to make it as efficient and do the least damage to our property as possible. It's an important project. And they're having to leave where they are now because the property was in such disrepair that the state inspected it and said, you got to get out of here. You can't keep these people in this space anymore. It's just not safe. So I hope you will support it.
Any other input on this item? Commissioner Wright?
I just wanted to applaud the effort that got this up here, and I'm glad that we are in a position to be able to help in this regard. It also shows a lot of people don't know how much time all of us spend on committee assignments and board assignments that we have representing the unified government, and it helps to have different ones of us assigned to different groups so that we can help explain, and I'm confident that that's accurate description that we got from our non-voting colleague. So I make a motion that we accept.
All right. Attorney Drake?
Connected with this, to appropriate the funds for the grant. It's an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020 annual operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide emergency assistance funding to Advantage Behavioral Health Systems and for other purposes.
All right.
So my motion is for option 1, A, B, C, D.
I'll second.
All right. I've got a motion, a second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I just want to applaud this effort as well. I think it's definitely a worthy investment, and whatever we can do to prevent homelessness and to treat folks with substance disorders, mental health issues, and keep families together. That's what's really, really important. It's those kids, giving those kids a stable home, a stable place to live while their family's in this transitional period, a safe, clean, stable environment. So I'm wholly supportive. Thank you, Jerry, for your work.
Thank you.
Other input on this item? I again will thank Commissioner Neesmith and certainly administration over at Advantage, who's been flexible in trying to work with us to find a resolution, and I'm glad that this one has worked out.
I want to thank our staff, in particular Andrew Saunders and Beth, have just done a fantastic job of facilitating this, making sure it's right for them and right for us, and their work will go on. I really appreciate the work. It made it a very difficult task just a lot easier.
Commissioner Neesmith has indicated a recusal. All others in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Excited this can move forward. All right, we're moving on to new business, and I need a motion for suspension of rules.
So moved.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Parker, second from Commissioner Davenport for suspension of rules. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, moving then to item number 12. This is the Athena Drive emergency culvert replacement. As this is a new item, Manager Williams, could you outline a little bit kind of what we'll be seeing on Athena Drive, where several folks probably realize that near the Certainteed facility, the road is now closed?
Yes, so there are a number of corrugated metal pipe culverts that were installed about 30 years ago across the county. We know where some are, others, we're still trying to inventory those. And I think you understand, we currently replace these culverts with concrete. They last a much longer. The CMP, or the corrugated metal pipes, they have about a 25, 30-year lifespan. So we're seeing more and more of these getting to the end of their life, and this one is no exception. Staff had been watching this one in particular, and it accelerated in its failure, and in fact such that we had to close the road here in mid-February. And so instead of being able to rehabilitate it or refit it, we're going to have to totally replace it, which is more expensive. And this is, you're being asked to award an emergency contract so that we can get the work done and get the road back open. It's a gateway to our industrial park, and it's important to other residents trying to transit the county. And so we've gone through the proper procurement processes per our purchasing department, and we've gotten a couple of bids. And this, you're being asked to award an emergency contract to Georgia Development Partners in the amount of $690,000 and authorize an extra contingency of $50,000. And all of this will come out of the Stormwater Enterprise Fund. We've been able, we've got several failures right now, Hemlock Drive and Charlie Bolton Drive. These have been happening more and more as we get into the vintage of these this infrastructure. And so again, we'll be coming to you in April to dust off the presentation you heard last year about the live stream replacement program and how we go about funding these replacements going forward.
Sadly, unlike vintage coins or vintage comic books, these vintage corrugated pieces aren't worth very much. Any input on this item, Commissioner Neesmith?
On a slightly different subject, but while we're on the subject, is that a culvert that's collapsing on Mitchell Bridge Road right now?
So staff are aware of that. They've been out there.
It's getting worse by the day.
It's at the foot of the bridge.
Yeah.
Which typically you don't have a culvert there. I need to ask staff about that.
Okay, thank you.
But I will follow up with all of you on the status of that.
It's getting really bad.
Right.
It's dangerous.
They are aware of it.
Commissioner Denson.
Thank you, Mayor Gertz. I just wanted to stay out there for the public. This is why it's so important for our stormwater funds that come in for this to be funded. I mean, I have to say that before I sat on this body, I don't think I appreciated exactly how important this is. And for the extreme weather events that we're seeing going on now, this is only going to continue and increase. So this is a very important thing for us to be focusing on. Obviously, this is the safety of our residents. So I appreciate staff acting so quickly to get this done, and just want the public to realize this is where that money goes. Yeah.
Commissioner Link?
I was gonna, Commissioner Denson stole my comment. Yeah, this is where our stormwater fees go. I know folks don't like paying them. They can't necessarily see where they go. Well, you can't see where they go because they're under the roads that we all drive on. And this is really expensive work, replacing this old infrastructure. You know, this is over $500,000. It's highly skilled labor and a big, massive engineering project, but absolutely necessary for the functioning of our transportation system and getting people to work and getting people to their homes.
And I totally agree. This is very important and it is urgent for the whole community. But I hope our staff is looking at other ways we can fund this. So people of the lowest economic spectrum are not overloaded. This is for everybody. We need this staff and this body to find ways that we can fund this without putting our community at danger and pressure on folk that are struggling with it. I want to be clear about that. This is important, but we brought up this issue before, and I don't think I've heard any other recommendations on how we can address stormwater fees. I'm looking for other ways that we can look at stormwater fees.
Manager Williams, could you talk a little bit about kind of any coming stormwater recommendations the county may be bringing forward to the elected body?
Yes, and so the stormwater utility is a fee that's charged really to help maintain the structures, the stormwater structures that convey stormwater to the rivers. We've been able to, we had a little bit of a fund balance that had built up over the years since its inception about 15 years ago, and that's what we've been using the last couple of years to pay for these capital improvements. That's different from SPLOST, which has, there were master plans done back in the early 2000s. And some of you may remember some of the terrible flooding that we had on Baxter Street and other neighborhoods. And, I guess that's a good thing about being one of the smaller counties. We've actually gotten to where we've fixed a lot of the flooding problems through SPLOST, but there's still some work to do, and certainly on water quality. So there's the water quantity aspect of this, which we've been working on, and then there's the water quality. To the Commissioner Thornton's point, there was a presentation done to the last iteration of the commission where we talked about the live stream replacement program. And if it helps, this helped me a lot to understand it. These old metal pipes, they're galvanized, you see them. And what happens when a stream runs through it, it brings little fine particles of grit and it nicks that surface and wears it, and then all of a sudden it rusts, and then it loses its structural integrity and it'll collapse. And that's what causes that to happen. So the live stream replacement program, that is culverts that conduct live streams underneath roadways and other things, was presented to the Mayor and Commission. We're still trying to get a handle on how many of these things are out there. And we've got CityWorks, we've got asset management systems, which we're inventorying. But all that to say, there was a number of $22 million that we could use over the next 10 years. And the last iteration of the Commission was given several choices about how to best fund that. And one was, you could put it all on the stormwater utility, you could put it on SPLOST, or you could do a hybrid of the two. And they said, well, we would use some SPLOST funds, some utility funds. But that was the direction from the last commission, and we need to revisit that with y'all to make sure that's what it is, what you would like to do. 15 years ago when the utility was created, used to be we used taxpayer dollars to do that. And a citizens committee was formed, and the mayor and commission took those recommendations and created the utility, which has withstood legal scrutiny as far as being a legitimate fee. So there are a number of ways to pay for this, and that's exactly what we want to talk through with y'all and get your input and listen to our citizens as well.
Thank you, Manager Williams. Commissioner Hamman.
Yeah. And certainly I look forward to this discussion, but I do hope we encompass into the discussion what I hear a lot, and what I'm sure some of y'all hear a lot as well. If the rainwater is coming off the road, and I'm not trying to change, I'm going to make a motion here in a minute to approve this, but since the door is opened, I'll just go ahead and say it. As part of that discussion, I'd like for us to also look at, if the rainwater is coming off the street onto somebody's property, we got to be able to find a way to help people in that instance. I mean, I've had a lot of cases here recently where, we're struggling to find a way to do it. The answer is always is, well, it's your problem because it's on private property. And I'll dispute that until I'm dead in the grave, because I think if they're, I hope it's not anytime soon.
Don't go to the grave. Don't go to the grave. It's not that serious.
But I just, I mean, it's obvious when stuff is coming off the streets onto somebody's property, then as we've been telling them, that's our problem, and we need to figure that out. So I'm hoping that's part of the discussion as we move forward in all of this. And with that said, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the Athena Drive emergency culvert replacement.
And I'll second it.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Hamby, a second from Commissioner Thornton. I think Commissioner Edwards had some input as well.
Manager Williams, is there nothing we can do to the existing corrugated pipes to shore them up to prevent further degradation, either with a enamel coating or something to prevent, instead of just waiting for them to collapse and then paying $500,000, can we go out to the ones that are there that are in some state of disrepair and apply some
Yes, sir.
preventative coating or something?
Yes, sir. You're onto something there. It certainly costs less to rehabilitate a line, whether you slip line it with a different material. The fact is that we don't have a ready capital source to go do that. And so what we're sort of left to is letting them, monitoring them, and they get to a point of failure, then we replace them. So that is exactly what we want to talk about. And Commissioner Hamby, we can revisit that as well. There's different levels of service that this utility can provide, and we can provide more service. It will have a higher revenue requirement, but we can work through that with y'all in plain view of the public to get good input.
Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I want to be clear that I'm remembering correctly that we added this into the SPOS packet without a specific dollar amount, hoping and thinking that there would maybe be funds that do come in. So it is a qualifying category for SPOS funding, and with the rate that the bonds are that we got and different things, it could be that we are collecting some SPOS money that can give us that diverse revenue. Is that correct, Manager?
That is correct, Commissioner. Y'all did create a $500,000 pot, and of course, the Mayor and Commission has the ability to transfer funds between projects as long as you can complete the projects that the public voted on. I will say, too, and I think Commissioner Hamby had brought this up, we had spoken with the attorney, and if it's a culvert that goes under the road, then it would be considered eligible for transportation for the next T-SPLOS. So I think that was something that the last iteration, the commission was saying that if we can bridge to those days, then perhaps that can be another funding source as well.
Those of you who are here in 2022 will probably hear more about this as we prep for T-SPLOST. Yes, Commissioner Link?
Yeah, it just occurred to me, this is a, more than $500,000 contract that's going to an Atlanta company. I wonder if folks in this community would feel better about their stormwater fees if they knew that it was local companies or local workers who were benefiting from the labor that it takes to install these things. And I'm wondering if part of that conversation we can have is how, we can have our own staff take care of this, build up our own staffing. I mean, we see more of them coming. This work isn't going to end anytime soon. So I'd like to have that be part of the conversation.
Manager Williams, I don't know if you want to kind of reference some of that kind of increased staff capacity that was built after T-SPLOST passed.
Sure. And I think I heard a couple things there, Commissioner Link. One is a local preference policy, which is something that I think one of the two standing
It's been
committees
assigned to government operations.
is starting to look at. And then, yes, with the Clayton Street project, y'all did authorize an extra stormwater crew, which has been, if you'll remember, when we first bid out that project, it was just way too expensive, and there was so much unknown underground, which is why the contractors are putting a lot of money on their bid. And we hired our crews to go in there and actually do the pre-dig and find the utility conflicts, and we're working through all that right now. So that is definitely something that we can look at if that's a route y'all would like to go.
Commissioner Neesmith?
I think would be good to remind ourselves and the public about why it is a fee and not a tax. And that is because we can't tax other governments like the University of Georgia, EPA, and the list goes on. A third of our land is government-owned, and so, but they pay the fee. The governments pay the fee, where they wouldn't be able to pay a tax. So that makes it a bit more equitable than it would be otherwise.
All right, I've got a motion and a second on the floor. Any further input? All right, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion carries. Athena Drive will see some remedy. Next item, new business, is a program that's been under construction for quite a few months, and it's a Pre-arrest Diversion Program. And what's on the agenda tonight is simply a resolution in support of that program. I want to give a lot of thanks to Commissioner Denson and Commissioner Neesmith, both of whom served in an advisory capacity in conjunction with Chief Spruill and the Solicitor C.R. Chisholm to develop this program. And this follows up a lot of work that's been underway by various state agencies, including by the General Assembly, who a few years ago passed Senate Bill 407, which allows local governments more leverage around some misdemeanors. And so in this case, what will be created through this program is a program where, rather than receiving a citation that means an arrest and means a criminal record, a person would be steered toward this pre-arrest diversion program for misdemeanor offenses like underage possession of alcohol, possession of marijuana, criminal trespass, and theft by shoplifting, as well as any of those activities that may be associated with a behavioral health need. The resolution indicates that there's been a wealth of research that says that if you have modest-scale arrests or modest-scale offenses, if somebody's steered toward supportive services, they're less likely to reoffend than if they spend even a night in jail. And so I think it's the goal of this body, it's certainly the goal of the community at large, not to fill our jail beds, but in fact have people seek supportive services. So anyhow, it's a very exciting program. I think it's groundbreaking in its use in Georgia in the way that we're crafting it to the needs of this community, and is going to be broadly beneficial. So Commissioner Denson.
Thank you, Mayor. And yeah, I am also very excited about this and was very happy to serve on that committee to help develop this. As you said, the program is going to allow individuals to avoid going to jail, to avoid going before a judge even, to avoid having an arrest on their record that could possibly hinder them in the future of their life. I mean, we talk about some of these things like marijuana possession under an ounce being one of them, trespassing, but like some of these, they could be UGA students, and that way they could actually say, I was not arrested for this thing. I won't face the same ramifications for what happened there. So I appreciate the Solicitor's Office for pursuing this novel approach that really is kind of groundbreaking, and the work of the many individuals and entities that are putting this into fruition. And I hope that we will support this and fully utilize it. And I really hope that this inspires, and I think it will inspire all these different entities coming together to go even further and to dig and try to find some new reforms, new policies that we can put in place that will really help this community. But I do want to say on this one specific part, and I spoke this to the committee, and I just wanted to make sure I spoke it to this body also, dealing with one of the particular charges that are involved in this, which is marijuana possession under an ounce. During that discussion, a lot of it was presented that the idea that if an individual is making choices that result in an interaction with a police officer, that shows the individual is making irresponsible choices. And that if for no other reason that behavior needs to be corrected, even if it was decriminalized or we didn't think that the marijuana use was something, a danger to the community, just the fact that irresponsible choice was in place is enough reason for us to try to correct that behavior. And that may be argued, and I understand the argument, but the institutions such as this one, such as the Solicitor's Office, such as our courts, police department, and of course state and federal governments must take the responsibility that we are choosing to frame these choices as illegal. And therefore we are choosing to frame those choices as irresponsible. that we are the ones criminalizing those choices by having these laws in place and choosing the penalties that they're going to be there. That these institutions are being irresponsible by unnecessary punishing and harming people's lives over behaviors that are not a danger to the community. So this policy is a great step in the right direction, and I want to make sure I'm putting that it is. I fully support it. I'm excited to see it move forward. But we need to go further, and this body has the power and therefore the responsibility to pass a parallel ordinance to further decriminalize marijuana possession under an ounce and give those good folks working in our criminal justice system an additional tool in conjunction with the PAD program to alleviate undue burdens on those caught up in our criminal justice system. With that said, I'll make a motion for us to go ahead and pass this.
I'll second. I'd like to.
All right, Commissioner Neesmith seconded after Commissioner Denson made the motion. Commissioner Neesmith.
I'll support everything that Commissioner Denson just said, including that this is a great step. And also to let you know, this will be a organic living policy, because there will be a Pre-arrest Diversion Policy Advisory Committee made up of the community policymakers and, when they're around, former PAD participants. And so they're going to be meeting on a regular basis every 6 months to review the program, to see where it's failed, where it's succeeding, and modify it. And this is done by policy and not by ordinance. So it can happen quickly. And also, I think it's important to know that all of our police departments were on this committee: the UGA Police, the Clarke County School District, as well as our Chief of Police, and the Director of Probation, and former Chief Judge David Sweat, who continues to contribute to this community so well. I think this also is one step in the direction of trying to kill that school-to-prison pipeline, because this is going to affect kids in high school very much. Their first shoplifting offense, their first possession offense, or even alcohol possession. This is going to give them a chance to step back and, modify their behavior through education and tutoring and mentorism. So, thank you.
Commissioner Link.
Yeah, I certainly support this effort, but I do want to add my support that we do go further, that we do move towards decriminalization of marijuana. And, I feel confident that most of this body, if not all, supports that. But we do need the cooperation of other elected officials outside this body, our Solicitor General and our DA. We need the cooperation of those elected officials. So for the public out there who feels that this does not go far enough, understand that it is beyond our control. We have a criminal justice system with other elected officials who are responsible for implementing these programs, and we need those folks to be on board too. So I would ask the public who is advocating for more to turn to those officials with your pleas.
Commissioner Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm also excited to be taking a step in these directions. As Commissioner Denson said, we want fewer people, sleeping in our jail beds. We want fewer people in front of a judge. I think this accomplishes that. I do have some, reservations regarding things like, officer discretion with whether or not someone is deemed as a threat, and therefore whether or not they just choose to go through with the pad or to arrest someone. I think that on racial grounds that could be weaponized against certain communities as well. The part that stipulates that folks that don't have some form of identification can be arrested as a means of resolving identity issues. I don't really see how that accomplishes that, and so we'll see how that impacts the undocumented community and other folks, perhaps low income, that don't have access to driver's licenses. We've seen statistics that that is often the case. But I think in general, it will take renewed and continued conversation around this to see how this shakes out in terms of communities it impacts. And so I'm in favor of us moving ahead with it for now, but I echo my colleague sitting behind the rail here that there's no reason why we shouldn't go ahead with a parallel ordinance to push this a bit further and take it off of our plate that that this is not enough. We might have other elected officials that don't see eye to eye with us about enforcing a parallel ordinance around cannabis possession, but let's make it their problem, not ours. So with that being said, I'm excited to get this started and see where it goes.
Commissioner Neesmith.
I think I agree with Commissioner Parker, but I think we just need to put a little fine edge on this identifying the person thing. The officer can use other means than the person having identification on them. If they can find another way to identify this person, it might even somebody says, yeah, that's who they are. Again, it's at the officer's discretion, but it's not. It has the potential of being more fair than it could be.
Yeah.
And just because I know that kind of undocumented or underdocumented members of our community, have expressed understandable concern in the past, do want to remind everybody that the police department has now made it policy that, if for a misdemeanor traffic offense even, somebody can be positively identified through a passport or simply through familiarity, that person can simply be returned to the home, no harm, no foul, except fix the taillight. The other element of the resolution that I do want to note is that final statement makes it clear that there is going to be occasional review and enhancement. So, we think that this is a great start, but we know it is just a start. So, I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. This is blessed, and I'm glad that it is. So we're ready to move forward. Final item of new business before a single planning and zoning item is the nominating committee report for the position on the Board of Tax Assessors. I think everybody has the nominating report in front of you, and I would accept a motion for approval of that individual.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Parker, a second from Commissioner Denson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we then welcome Quazon Payne back to the Board of Tax Assessors, so we are glad to have him. All right, as I noted, we have just a single planning and zoning item. It's a request of Kevin Hamman and TOPO Industries regarding parcels on Will Hunter Road. We discussed this at the agenda-setting meeting. When we have a planning and zoning item, there is an opportunity for a 10-minute block of input. Clerk, has anybody taken advantage of that opportunity? All right, so nobody signed up for the 10 minutes. So now's the time when any member of the public may speak to item number 15. So would anybody like to speak to item number 15? Comparable rules as earlier apply. All right. Hearing crickets, all right. I believe there is an ordinance associated with this. Attorney Drake.
Yes. An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to amending conditions of zoning associated with 3 parcels of land comprising approximately 30.72 acres in total and located at 350, 360, and 380 Will Hunter Road in the I Industrial with Conditions zoning district and for other purposes.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Drake. This is, I believe, in Commissioner Edwards' district. Commissioner Edwards, would you like to speak to this item?
I mean, I've got reservations about this item. I was looking at the staff report and saw that it was unanimously turned back from the Planning Commission. So it looks to be adjacent to a residential development, creation of a private landfill composting facility. I know there were some objections raised by staff as well. So I'm hesitant to support it at this point.
Any other commission input on this item? Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think, I agree with the Planning Commission, and I'll go ahead and make a motion to deny.
I second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Link, a second from Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Wright, you had input on this item?
No, they covered it.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Neesmith?
Just one other consideration, which is that there are some pending plans for further residential development right along that area. And so that makes this even more problematic.
All right, got a motion, a second to deny the request of the applicant. Any other input? All right. All in favor of denial of this request?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right. Request for rezoning denied. All right. We have now citizen input on any item that was not on our agenda tonight. Rules are the same. You have a 3-minute opportunity. Again, the light will turn green when you begin speaking, yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and red when your 3 minutes has concluded. Again, there's Attorney Drake, if you just grab that, I appreciate it. There are, again, notes on the podium so that we can accurately capture your name for the record. So, all right. Thank you, sir, for coming out to join us tonight.
Let me know when you're ready, Mr. Mayor.
All right, go right ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Manager, Mr. Attorney, and Madam Clerk. My name is Marvin Broadwater Sr. I reside at 3004 Slippery Rock Court, Columbus, Georgia. Accompanying me this evening are members of the local chapters of Zeta Beta Beta and Beta Zeta, University of Georgia, of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I would ask that those men stand with me at this time. We're here this evening to solicit your attendance and assistance with informing your constituents of a fatherhood conversation event on March the 10th, 2020 from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the Athens-Clarke County Library on Baxter Street. I serve as the immediate past state representative of Georgia State Organization of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and we are an organization that believes in community outreach and involvement, as we all are servant leaders. I have observed a vicious cycle for many of our fathers in this great state as it relates to child support. For this reason, the Georgia State Organization of Omega Psi Phi has partnered with the Georgia Department of Human Services Fatherhood Program to conduct fatherhood conversations around the great state of Georgia. Those fathers who are unaware of the services and benefits this program affords will have a chance to engage the subject matter experts. The goal of the fatherhood conversations are to inform the community of the numerous services offered to the non-custodial parent, especially fathers, and to dispel any misconception of the Department of Human Services Fatherhood Program. Topics to be discussed but not limited to are driver license reinstatement, child support services, GED enrollment, job training, job search, and job placement. Also, support order modification. We believe all challenging issues facing our governing and policy-making bodies are interrelated, to include crime, economy, homelessness, unemployment, domestic violence, child abuse, neglect, drug use, prison population, poverty, and a plethora of other challenging community concerns. If we dim the radiance on one issue, we consequently decrease the radiance of another simultaneously. Fathers who find themselves in child support arrears will benefit tremendously from this program. The plan is to blanket the city and inform all citizens of this program. The ultimate goal is to uplift your community and place a father back into every child's life. I hope to see you there. Thank you again for your time and your service to this great community. And I'll answer any questions. That is my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll answer them at this time.
Will you repeat the date, please?
March 10th, next Tuesday.
March 10th. Okay,
yes,
thank
ma'am,
you.
at 6 p.m.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Broadwater.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you all, and I must put this on the record. That's a nice clock. I bet no one's ever told me that. That's a very nice clock. I spent 12 years in Germany, and that's a very nice clock. Thank you all.
It does everything for us but tell the time. All right, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I don't think that, excuse me, I don't think I got to stand up here and say why I'm up here. Y'all people know why I'm up here.
Just your name and address, sir, so we get it for the record.
Yes, my name is Dennis Holmes. I reside at 1965 Winterville Road, Lot 2, your district, Ms. Parker. I don't, and I spent over 4 years back and forth trying to get some resolution with y'all people. And I sat here tonight, you know, I was trying to figure out, do these people have any type of heart? Do they have any type? But after listening at y'all, I came to the conclusion, hey, y'all are some good people. I came to that conclusion. But what I can't figure out, if you people know, without a doubt, I'm not a fool. I know you people realize that I know that y'all know. Every accusation that I have put on paper, every accusation that y'all have seen me speak about up here, it's as truthful as the truth can ever be told. But when I ask for actions on this, you people turn a blind eye on me. I can't understand it. It's time for us to get this situation resolved. And Ms. Thornton, you and Mr. Hamby, I want to appreciate y'all. I heard your radio show last Thursday for what y'all did Saturday out there at Sandy Creek. It let those people know that everybody is not forgotten. Hey, and I want to take my hat off to both of y'all.
Thank
And
you.
I won't take my hat off to know anybody. Hey, but getting back to what I was saying, hey, it's bad. It's sad that y'all people were set back and allowed this to continue. And Miss Parker, like I said, I'm in your district. Mayor Gertz, you the mayor of this county. Your job is to represent us all, not just one or two of all. And I'm asking Miss Parker, I'm asking you and Mayor Gertz to get together and we get this resolved. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Hello, I'm Coral Rogers. I reside at 235 Millard Avenue. I am approaching you as the Executive Director of Wheels of Hope. We have applied for CDBG funding as was recommended for funding by the Vision Committee. However, we were not recommended for funding by Housing Community Development. But I feel if ACC is serious about investing in anti-poverty programs while also addressing the needs of the fastest growing population segment, which is seniors, then I believe funding Wheels of Hope is a must. 75% of our clients are low income, with at least half of them bringing in well under $10,000 a year. Low income people with transportation challenges have increased disease burdens and poor health outcomes. The isolation of this group leads to increased levels of mental illness and serious declines in their physical health. Other programs, some funded by the CDBG, do not offer the level of care that we do. For example, we make multiple stops. We are available 24/7. We provide as many rides as people need, many of which are at no cost to our clients. I have noticed since becoming the executive director that many of our clients are used to the apathy that is directed toward them, and I have seen them brought to tears when they are finally treated as if they matter, and when they are treated with human dignity. One of my clients, for example, ends every call with, "I love you," and another calls me sister. I think this is because they finally feel seen, which is something they don't get from any other program in this county. In the 3 months since I turned in the paperwork, we went from a little under 30 clients to nearly 50 through word of mouth alone. Imagine how many people we could serve if we could actually advertise our services because we had paid drivers who could handle the increase in ride requests. And how many we could serve if they don't have to choose between going to the doctor or buying their groceries, paying for transportation, or paying for their medication. This is why we hope you will join other community stakeholders such as the Farmers Market, the Council of the Blind, the Rotary Club, the Food Bank, Lovecraft, and the Cancer Foundation, and many others in supporting our program. I have cut the funding we originally asked for to the bare bones and come up with a minimum amount which will have the maximum effect for our clients, which is just under $11,000, over $5,000 less than we originally asked. This money would be solely used for paid drivers and our low-income rider fund with zero administration costs. This would prove to be a hardship for Wheels of Hope, but our clients come first. And so I hope you will please consider funding Wheels of Hope through the CDBG funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Hi, my name is Jamaica Miller, and I am the founder of Wheels of Hope, and I'm going to tell you about some of the other differences that we provide. We provide rides for people. We actually go to the door and get the clients. We do not blow our horns to have the clients come out. We also have the clients where they, where you actually can, if you have balance issues or issues with visual impairment, we actually safely guide them to the car, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Good evening.
Hi, my name is Zoe Love. I'm at 505 Riverbend Parkway. I probably should have spoken moments ago under the Pre-arrest Diversion Program, but I'm here to speak again on the reclassification of marijuana. I just wanted to thank you all so much for taking this first step in the right direction towards, especially you, Commissioner Denson, towards not having people in jail for these minor offenses, including the misdemeanor possession of marijuana. And I do want to express the same concerns that have been expressed by Commissioners Denson and Link and Parker about the ability of the police officer to decide whether or not to offer this program, because I do think that in some ways this as a first step is good, but in other ways it's just the system that we already have but written into law, which is that some people will be arrested for marijuana and some people will be excused. And I think those things are disproportionate. So I think I'm just really left with a lot of questions, which is how would we get into contact with the Solicitor General Chisholm, and also is it possible to pass the parallel ordinance without his approval? And if it is possible to pass that ordinance, I really want to speak on behalf of Students for Sensible Drug Policy in support of that. I think that's all I have to say, but I would love to be in contact with anyone who would like to partner with Students for Sensible Drug Policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Love.
My name is Drew Warren, 165 Britton Avenue. I'm here representing Students for Sensible Drug Policy and calling for Mayor Kelly Gertz to follow through with his various promises and statements he has made regarding the reclassification of possession of an ounce or less of cannabis. I'm also addressing Tim Denson regarding the proposed Pre-arrest Diversion Program. Now that this program is officially underway, there must be reclassification in place as well. A few years ago, my older brother had minor possession charges when he went to school in Ohio, and he went through a similar program where he had to pay for lawyers, supervision services, he was subject to random drug testing, and the experience made him struggle to find jobs, and it affected his career path even after 4 years. My family was able to support my brother, but this is not the case for everyone. The reality is that both being jailed as well as unnecessary programs do very little to address why an overwhelming number of poor and homeless people who are disproportionately Black are oppressed by the criminal justice system in the first place. I understand that there are some in this commission who are uncomfortable with the idea that these policies are an indirect form of white terrorism, but I think it is important at the very least that we recognize when there is bad policy. Being thrown in jail for minor drug charges is bad policy. Treating drug addicts like criminals is bad policy. Alternatively, I think things like the misdemeanor arrest record restriction events with the Solicitor General is an example of really good policy. Currently, Athens does not have the mental health and addiction recovery infrastructure to support the influx of people who would be going through these programs. If offenders do not have to pay for the program like my brother did in Ohio, this could be a misuse of taxpayer funds. If offenders do have to pay for anything involved with this program, then I do not see it as a step in the right direction, especially if the decision is ultimately up to a police officer. So once again, arresting people for minor possession and other minor drug-related charges is bad policy. Reclassification of possession of an ounce or less is good policy. I'm sincerely calling on Mayor Gertz and Solicitor General Chisholm to implement reclassification because ultimately it is up to you both to make this happen. Please allow the citizens of Athens-Clarke County to heal after decades of bad policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Any other input tonight?
Don't want to miss my opportunity. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Mark McConnell. I live at 2510 Commerce Road, Athens, Georgia. Some of you might remember 6 years ago I put this hat on and I got up here and I asked you if you had read the National Climate Assessment. I think Kelly gave me a nod. I'm not going to put the hat on tonight, but you get the idea. So this past December and January were the warmest December and January on record in the contiguous United States. That is the whole United States except for Alaska, Hawaii, and I guess American Samoa. It was the warmest we've ever seen for that period of time. We've had more rain, as everybody knows, this winter than we've seen in I don't know how long. I don't know what the record is on that, but the Greenway is partially underwater. And when we take down trees alongside the edge of rivers, it's not really a greenway. We are putting in pavement. That's not really a good thing. I understand everybody wants to walk along the river and everything, but in the big picture, things like the amphitheater right up the street, you all should be ashamed of yourselves because it's a nightmare. If you go by there, I know it seemed like a good idea, but go by there and look. It's like a moonscape or a Marscape. There's erosion there where there's ruts through the soil that are feet deep. The back of it where the silt fences are, the water is totally going over the top of those on a number of occasions, dumping tons and tons of sediment into our rivers, which is our drinking water, which also fills in the river with sediment and causes the water to be warmer. The warmer water kills fish, and the whole thing's not a good idea. So next time we decide that we're going to clear cut as many acres as that is, and I don't know how many it is, but it's a whole lot, we need to take into consideration what's really happening, because the checks that were put in place to stop the erosion are not sufficient because it's happening. That should be like a $30,000 fine per day that happens, I think is what the PDS regulations call for. And nobody does that. But just the sheer magnitude and the carbon footprint of a site like that, when we've got, a warming planet, we need to think about all of these things. Which leads me to my next discussion, which is real quick on the bicycle lane over here. I don't like it. No, I don't think anybody's going to get hit riding their bike in the middle of the road over there. It looks terrible. It doesn't seem to function to me. I will never ride in that bike lane. It kind of scares me. It's a good idea. I get all that. But all right, and then the other thing I want to talk about is, can we get everyone in Athens-Clarke County to take a certificate and training program about climate change? Because a lot of people who work for the county have no idea that it's even a thing. And that is not a good team spirit if we don't have everybody pulling for the same thing. And let's transition all of our gas-powered lawnmowers, weed eaters, and all those things, and trucks for the county to battery electric, and put up some big-ass solar panels and some battery banks so we can charge everything and not burn fuel. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for your list, Mr. McConnell. Any other input this evening? All right, we're going to move forward with reports. I do want to note a couple of Adopt a Highway proclamations that we have. We began the evening with discussion of the great work that Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful does, and kind of we're ending it in part at least by noting that Classic City Cycling has adopted Prince Avenue between Sunset and Chase And the Classic City Roller Girls, go out and check them out, have adopted Newton Bridge Road between Chase Street and Vincent Drive, both locations where I've seen a surplus of litter, and I'm grateful for the support from those community organizations. So I want to make that clear. Next thing is an assignment to LRC, the Legislative Review Committee, and that is to examine opportunities for local civil rights legislation modeled on the recent Brookhaven ordinance. For public knowledge, there have been several local city ordinances that have been passed in the last several months, Brookhaven being kind of the one that I'm assigning at least for initial review, and utilizing the municipal court and AC Attorney's Office as support for the prospective ordinance. And finally, before we move on to other reports, I want to call forward Crystal Barber. If you could take just a moment, come on up to the podium. Everybody, Crystal Barber is our inaugural Animal Services Department head. Crystal, thank you for coming to Athens. We're glad to have you at the helm. You want to say a couple of words?
Thank you, everybody, commissioners, mayor, managers. I appreciate the opportunity. The community seems awesome. The small community is exactly the type of feel that I was interested in. I'm coming from a very large city, Polk County, Florida, roughly like 80 employees and 17,000 animals. So the smaller scale was something I was really interested in, and I love the community feel. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Crystal. Welcome to town. Glad to have you here. Manager Williams, any reports this evening?
No, sir.
Attorney Drake, anything tonight?
No, sir. I would just like to add, though, when we enter into executive session for discussion of real estate acquisition and or disposal and personnel matters, that we also need to amend the agenda to add litigation. The clerk has done that for the public. All right,
Yes,
mine
sir.
wasn't there. Thank you.
Yep, you got it. All right, so we're going to begin tonight with Commissioner Davenport, and we'll come around to Commissioner Hamby.
All righty. I don't have much but to say Happy Women's History Month. And we vote March 24th for presidential primary. I'm hearing some concerns, so I'm asking all residents of Athens-Clarke County to just to be prepared that when you do go and vote, it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. So, so if you know somebody who's already voted, just ask them the process or visit the Board of Elections, and they'll help guide you through. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner.
I just want to say I voted yesterday, and it was super easy. Got my sticker. So go down and vote between today, or I guess tomorrow now, and March 20th. If you want to vote early, get it out of the way. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Link.
Yeah, I want to thank Commissioners Thornton and Hamby for their work on the prosperity package and everybody else who's worked on it. I attended the the open house. I made it for the last hour or so of the open house on Saturday. And I recognize all the good we're doing in this community and all the needs we have. And then I also recognize how much is out of our reach and our ability to impact. So things like substantial impact on affordable housing, credit access, health care. These are all things that there's not a whole lot we can do with our own funds in this community, and we need real systemic change in this nation to impact poverty and inequality as a whole. And I hope that everybody remembers that when they go to the ballot box this month and in November.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wright.
Thank you. And in reference to you, I guess it was T-SPLOS 2 that you said for those of us who are here at 2022. I hope to be here. I have launched my reelection campaign, and so I do hope to be here for that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Denson.
Thank you, Mayor. First, want to thank you for assigning the non-discrimination ordinance to committee. I'm excited to see that move forward. And the other thing is just to announce that the next District 5 Town Hall will be on the issue of transitioning to zero fare transit, which is something I want us to be taking the next step in with this budget cycle. And that will be held on Monday, March 30th at Normal Bar at 6 p.m. And that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Neesmith.
I have nothing to say tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Edwards.
I had a lovely Monday at the Botanical Garden and encourage everyone to go there. The tulips are blossoming. And the only downside, and I mention it because Mark McConnell came tonight, was during my stroll through the grounds, someone just had to fire up a 2-stroke leaf blower and start clearing the sidewalk and throw the ultrafine particulate into the air, which entered my lungs, along with the noxious fumes. Of course, there's some of the dirtiest engines in the world. You know, they burn oil and gas simultaneously. It turned into a depressing moment, a dystopic moment. These tools that we're using. I was walking down the street in my neighborhood the other day and picked up a piece of garbage, and it was a plastic disposable e-cigarette with some sort of lithium battery that can't be thrown in the garbage. So there's certainly some troubling things happening in this community with regards to our response to the climate crisis. And I think we absolutely need to be moving greenwards. And I'm heartened to see that we are in some ways. I was at the solar panel dedication at Rock Springs Park the other day, a 60 kilowatt system. So we're doing some things, but we need to do more. And I'm sick of these leaf blowers. And they're a serious harm on the environment. And they're breaching the peace in every single neighborhood in this community. And so I look forward to working with my colleagues to bring forward some sort of response or some legislation to rein in these dystopic lawn maintenance machines that are doing nothing but hurtling us further towards the climate crisis and just killing the peace in our neighborhoods. So, thank you, Mr. McConnell, for bringing those thoughts back to my mind. And I hope I can have the support of my colleagues to bring forward some policies that have been in waiting. I'm also thinking about the plastic bag ban. You know, I just recently took a business trip to Northern Europe. I was in the Netherlands. I didn't see a dumpster the whole time I was there. I didn't see a garbage truck the whole time I was there. There are lessons we can learn from other communities when it comes to zero waste, and those communities have taken legislative action to get there. So they've shown us the way. I don't want to see another plastic disposable cigarette for the rest of my life. And I'd just like to thank the support of my colleagues to try to move this community greenwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Thornton.
I don't know what to say after all that. That was a little depressing. I want to thank the Omega Psi Phi fraternity for coming out. I know they've left. This fatherhood conversation is so important. I think I want to also thank Wheels of Hope for coming out. I think when we do not have these voices come before us, we miss what we're doing. And you guys do not come out enough to keep the radar, our finger on the radar of, like my colleague is so upset about what he's upset about. I'm upset when we do not address our people, our constituents. So thank you for reminding us why we're here, and it is for the people. Also for the leaf thing too. I want to also acknowledge, I think Saturday was a huge success. I want to shout out to Katie Johnson at Cedar Shoals. She brought some amazing students that spoke. I think we are in the right lane when we have high school students that are articulating what we are talking about. I think we are on the right road when we have high school students talking about white privilege. It's real. But the younger we get them, the more we can address this issue when they get older. The Boley Drive construction, I am a little alarmed about what you said about the rain, and I think we need to address that. That's my district. I had no idea that we were having problems there. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not as depressed as my colleague on the other side. I'm kind of optimistic in the direction we're headed. And I wanted to also congratulate Commissioner Wright and Neesmith for signing back up to take this ride again. You too. And you too. And him too. And Mariah too.
That's cool. No worries.
But did y'all qualify?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Congratulations.
She voted in qualify.
Oh, okay.
The four horsemen of the dystopian apocalypse.
But every time I see a daffodil, I think of Commissioner Wright. So
that's awesome.
We're good, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, Commissioner Edwards. I'm sorry, but I'm feeling good about the direction we're headed. Thank you.
Commissioner Hamby.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. Before we do that, Mayor, could I say one thing? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Danson.
Just want to say I forgot to bring this up. Nobody else brought it up, but go Cedar Shoal Jaguars
Yay!
playing in the state finals
Go
on
Jags.
Friday.
Make sure they get that on camera.
That's right. Could you amend your motion to close the public session and enter executive session?
So moved. I'll second after I tell you this. I just heard that the Board of Elections has voted to go paper ballots.
So I've heard. All right. All in favor of entering executive session?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're going to take just a short 10-minute break and then be back in our seats at 7:30 to enter executive session.